Hey guys, welcome to my perfect Christmas Day feast. Got a fantastic menu for you. We've got a festive cocktail to start, Cherry Margarita, and then we have Gin-Cured Salmon with pepperberry and lemon myrtle, followed by a main course of Beef Wellington. For dessert we have a festive Pavlova and then some take-home gifts, some chocolate Rocky Road. All recipes can be found on studiokitchen.com.au, but you need to start this today before, so on Christmas Eve, here's a list of the prep you got to get done. We're going to cure the salmon, super easy. Pickle some shallots. We're going to make that pav and leave it in the oven overnight. Set rosemary ice cubes and rosemary syrup for our cocktail, and I'll show you how to make that Rocky Road. We need to get started with the salmon. Our gin-cured salmon, this is going to be an amazing start to our luxurious Christmas lunch. It's really flavourful and it's really easy as well, which is going to give you time to concentrate on other things. Look at this beautiful piece of salmon. Ask my fishmonger to give me a nice fat piece from the middle and pin bone that fish so that when we slice through it later it won't be a problem. Also, I've kept the skin on and it's an absolutely beautiful piece of fish. Now we're going to make our curing mix. So into a mortar and pestle we've got some beautiful pepper berries, and I'm just pummeling them down, just crushing them. Don't want a fine powder, you just want to release some of those oils and flavours. Now into a bowl we've got sugar and we've got some salt flakes. I'm using Murray River salt flakes there. And we're adding some lemon myrtle powder, really great flavour, as well as the pepperberry, and we're just going to mix it together. This is a super simple recipe, anyone could do this. Now here comes the gin, using a plain gin here, really delicious, and we're just going to mix that into the dry mix until it resembles kind of wet sand. Now our curing mix is ready. Into a container, I'm just using a little glass dish here. I'm putting half of the curing mix, and then we're going to add the salmon skin side down into that container and just top it off with the rest of that curing mix. Using the back of a spoon, I'm just going to push it down and just try and cover all of the surface of that beautiful fish with that curing mix. And that's it, it's simple, ready to go. All you got to do is put it in the fridge. So we're going to weight it down. First put a bit of paper on top of the fish and then just find some weights. I've got a dish and a bottle of gin there. I'm going to put that in the fridge overnight. Pickled shallots, such an easy recipe. I've always got a jar of this in the fridge. Goes well with everything, especially the salmon. Slice your shallots nice and thin, put them into a bowl and pour over your cooled pickling liquor. Leave it to stand, add a few herbs, pop them in the jar, put them in your fridge. It's as easy as that. Now it's on to my favourite course of all, it's dessert. I'm going to show you how to make a festive Pavlova. This is going to look sensational on your Christmas table. Absolutely amazing. Everyone loves a pav. Crunchy on the outside and marshmallowy, pillowy in the middle. It has got a bit of a reputation for being a little bit tricky to do, but if you follow my simple steps, you're going to have success every single time. We need to make this a day in advance because it needs to sit in your oven overnight. Let's start making this pav. To start, make sure all of your utensils are super clean, especially the bowl of your electric stand mixer. Add egg white into the bowl, followed by cream of tartar, a pinch of salt, and I'm using vanilla paste, but you could use fresh vanilla seeds. Pop it onto the machine with the whisk attachment and start it on medium. You're going to get this meringue started before we're going to add in the sugar. A tablespoon at a time is how you're going to add the sugar. So we want to make sure all of that sugar is added really slowly so we don't collapse the meringue. Also, the friction of the machine will dissolve that sugar, so you don't want any sugar crystals into your meringue because that is what is going to cause some weepage and some seepage at the end. So adding this sugar very slowly is the most important part of this. Once all of the sugar is in, and this probably took me about 10 minutes, you're going to have a nice shiny glossy meringue. Just look at that. Pull it off the machine now, bring it over to the workbench where I'm going to fold in some corn flour. After the corn flour, I'm going to add some vinegar. So I'm using white wine vinegar here. You could just use white vinegar, and again we're going to fold that in using a spatula. Now get the oven turned on to 165. Before preparing your piece of paper, I've got baking paper here, drawing around an 18cm circle, using some meringue to stick it down, reversing it over so I don't get marker pen on the bottom of my pav, and then putting all of that meringue into the centre of the circle. And then I'm just going to try and shape this meringue, but keep some height, also keep the air in it. So using a palette knife, just flatten down the top and also get some edges happening. So I'm just going to use the palette knife to lift up the edges. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. All those gnarly bits go nice and sort of crunchy in the oven. Now the baking is the most important thing. So we're going to put it into that 165 oven and bake it for 10 minutes. Then we're going to turn that oven down to 100 degrees without opening it and bake it for a further 50 minutes. When that's finished, turn off the oven and leave it in there overnight. Trust me, it will be perfect. Next, our festive cherry, rosemary and lime margaritas. Delicious. I'm going to show you how to make these, but we need to do 2 jobs first before we assemble our cocktail. So make these 2 jobs the day before and your life will be a lot easier on Christmas Day. I've grabbed some rosemary from the garden and I've just snipped the tops off. We're going to make these really festive ice cubes. They're going to look great in our cocktail. Next, we need to make a syrup, a rosemary infused syrup. So I've added sugar and water to a pan. I've just put it onto the stove, brought it to the boil, and I'll remove it from the heat. And then with the rest of the rosemary, I'll just use a pair of scissors to snip that in. And we're going to leave it to infuse and cool down in the pan before putting it into a bottle, popping it in the fridge, ready for the next day. Now, Rocky Road, really easy to make, so festive as well. I absolutely love this stuff. It's going to look fantastic on our table, but we're going to put some into bags as well, tie them up with ribbon, give them away as festive gifts. Easy to make. In a bowl, add dark chocolate and milk chocolate, some unsalted butter, golden syrup, a pinch of salt, and we're just going to put it into the microwave. And just short, high bursts until it's just melted. You don't want it too hot, but make sure the chocolate is just melted and the butter's melted, and then using a spatula we're just going to mix it together until we have a nice, smooth, shiny mix. Look at that, it looks absolutely fantastic. Now let's line our dish with some baking paper before adding our inclusions into the chocolate mix. So fruit and nuts, whatever combo you want, but I'm using some awesome pieces here. I've got gingerbread trim left over from Gingerbread Men, just breaking that up, putting it inside. Now I've frozen my Turkish Delight and marshmallow beforehand so it doesn't melt, and I've also added some freeze-dried fruit into the mix. Give it a stir so everything is covered and pour it into that dish, and then just sort of tap it down, flatten it, and we're going to put that in the fridge, leave it overnight. We're going to cut that into pieces tomorrow on Christmas Day. That's it, your prep's done for the day, so you can chill out now, have a mince pie, maybe a glass of sherry, get yourself an early night so Santa will come round and be good to you. Ho ho ho! Oh, I couldn't sleep, too excited, was up early, thinking about Christmas Day lunch. Going to be awesome. I've opened a few prezzies. Now I'm going to finish my prep. I'm going to get that salmon sliced, have a look at it. I'm going to make a cocktail or 2. Big job is the Beef Wellington before finishing the pav, cutting the Rocky Road and setting the table. Let's start with the salmon. To finish the salmon, it's been curing in the fridge overnight, so let's have a look. Okay, we're going to remove our weight now and we'll just get rid of the paper and just look at that. The salmon's changed colour, it's gone really deep in colour. It's also gone firmer. Now we're going to scrape off all of that curing mix. We don't need that anymore, it's done its job, it's imparted all of that amazing flavour and this smells incredible. Quick rinse under a cold tap and then pop your salmon onto a bit of paper towel. Bit more paper towel on top just to dry it off. Now we're going to finish this salmon with some dill and some lime. Finely chop about 4 tablespoons of dill and we're going to put that into a bowl. Grate some lime. Oh, hold on, Kath. Back again. We're going to put that into a bowl and we're going to grate some lime zest, finely grated lime zest, probably about 1 lime. On top of that, give it a bit of a mix with a spoon just to make sure it's all mixed up together there. And this is going to go on top of our salmon. It's going to look really festive, and you'll get that beautiful contrast of colour when you slice through the salmon. So just using a spoon, push it on top and get your fingers just to push all of those herbs on top of the salmon, and that is it. It's ready to go. Make sure it looks nice and neat. Pop it back into the fridge until ready to slice. Here we go, moment of truth. Now ready to slice our salmon onto a beautiful platter. I'll just try some first. Yeah, that is absolutely delicious. You can taste the pepperberry, and the gin is awesome. So using a sharp knife and just on a slight angle, slicing away from yourself, cut through the salmon very thin, as thin as you can, almost so you can see through it and see the knife underneath, and just finely slice bits of fish. Every now and again you might want to wash your knife because it can get a little bit sticky, and just drag that fish. But slice some onto a serving platter, and then I've got some creme fraiche in a piping bag. I'm just piping little dots on top. Then we have pickled shallots. We made those earlier. They always live in my fridge. And just finishing off with a few herbs. I've got some radish leaves here, baby radish leaves. They're absolutely great, look fantastic. And you can serve this with our seed crackers, and it's the perfect start to our Christmas lunch. I'm just going to try one before everyone comes around, just to make sure they're all right. Yeah, pretty good. I'm happy with that. How good does that look? You can make this as well. Super simple. Let's crack on with the rest of the menu. Here we go. Got these beautiful cherries, and I'm pitting 8 cherries. So I'm going to show you how to make a cocktail for 2 people. This is for the top rim of the glass. I've got salt and I've got sugar into a little dish, and I'm just grating in the zest of a lime. Give it a bit of a mix. And I need 2 limes for this recipe. You may need more depending on how much juice you get out of them, but you're going to juice 2 limes, and then before throwing away the rest of the lime, just rub the top of your glasses with the lime, and then we're going to push the glasses into the salt sugar mixture and just give a really fun, decorative, festive finish to our glasses. And now they're ready to make cocktails. I'll get the ice cubes out of the freezer, pop them out, check them out, they're so cool. And to make the cocktail, we're going to put 4 cherries into a glass, and the remaining 4, just skewer them and put them on the side for a cute little garnish. This cocktail will make 2, so we're going to need 4 shots of tequila. I'm using white tequila here. And then you're going to get a muddle and just mash up all of the cherry and all of that tequila together till you get this beautiful red, cherry red colour tequila. Absolutely amazing. Now the rosemary syrup we made the day before, we're going to add 2 shots of that. And next the lime juice, 2 shots of that. So it's 2 parts tequila, 1 part rosemary syrup, 1 part lime juice. Add a couple of ice cubes to our glass and give it a really good stir. Stir it for a couple of minutes just to get it nice and chilled before adding your rosemary ice cubes to your cocktail glasses, and then distributing that cocktail into 2 glasses. I made a bit of a mess on the bench there, but we'll give it a wipe. And that should make 2 drinks really great to get started. I think me and Kath will have a go on this before our guests arrive. Put the cherries on top, and that's it. Cherry, rosemary and lime margarita. Delicious and festive. So exciting, we're on to the main event now. We're going to be making Beef Wellington, and it's so awesome. Perfect for a Christmas celebration. Speak to your butcher about getting a fantastic piece of beef. Look at this beef fillet, absolutely beautiful. And I also got my butcher to slice some prosciutto, nice and thin, probably got about 16 slices there. I've got some herbs, got some thyme and some tarragon. I've got garlic, and I've got a whole heap of mushrooms. That's going to make the duxelle. I've made my own puff pastry. You can use store-bought, no worries. Also need some olive oil and some Dijon mustard, as well as salt and pepper. First job we're going to do is make our mushroom duxelle. Duxelle is basically mushrooms chopped nice and fine and then cooked all the moisture out, and then that mushroom paste, that coarse paste, is going to go on the outside of our beef, giving it fantastic flavour and protecting the beef. I've got a lot of mushrooms here, so I'm going to do them in batches, maybe 3 batches, give them a quick chop before putting them into a blender, and then giving them a pulse. I don't want puree. Look at that, nice coarse pieces of mushroom. Once they're all done, I've popped them into a bowl, and I'm just going to finely chop that thyme, the fresh thyme, and put it inside the mushrooms along with some grated garlic just to season it up a little bit. Those tarragon leaves, just chop them, put them to the side. We're going to use them later. We're going to get a pan onto the stove, and I'm just going to put some oil onto that piece of beef. We're going to seal the beef first before we cook the duxelle. So loads of salt and pepper on the outside of the beef, hot pan, listen to that sizzle, and we're just sealing this on the outside. We're not cooking the beef all the way through at all, so this will only take a couple of minutes using tongs just to move it around and make sure every surface of the beef has been covered and sealed, and it smells incredible, but this is nice and raw in the middle. So bringing it back onto the plate, and then using a palette knife just to liberally put loads of Dijon mustard on top, put it into the fridge. That's going to chill down while we now cook our mushroom duxelle. So in the same pan, don't give it a wash, just put it back on, get loads of heat in there, and we're just going to add the mushroom. I've done mine in 3 stages, so don't overcrowd the pan. What we're trying to do is just evaporate all of the moisture from the mushrooms. So 3 batches I've done. Get the pan nice and hot, get your mushrooms in, and we're just going to cook them out until all of that moisture has gone away and you've got like a nice dry mushroom mix into a container, season it with salt and pepper, and then I'm going to put that into the freezer and we're going to let it cool down. When it's cool, bring it back out, and I'm going to add in the chopped tarragon that we had earlier, and that's our mushroom duxelle done. So basically we're ready to assemble our Beef Wellington now. So I've got some cling wrap onto a bench, and I'm just making a nice large square. The square needs to be bigger than your actual Beef Wellington because it's going to be pulled tight and keep the barrel shape of that Wellington. Getting the prosciutto and just arranging it onto the plastic there, you can see it, and just overlapping it so there's no gaps, and I'm looking for a large rectangle of the prosciutto. After that's done, get all of that mushroom duxelle onto the prosciutto as shown. Use the back of a spoon just to spread it down nice and thin and nice and evenly. You can use a palette knife as well if you like. Now once you're happy, then it's nice and neat. This does need to be bigger than your beef. Get the beef out of the fridge, get some more mustard on the base if you need to, and using that cling wrap, you're just going to wrap that piece of beef with the prosciutto and the mushroom duxelle. Keep the cling wrap because that's going to help you get a tight barrel shape, which is what you want to get this Beef Wellington looking so professional. So just tucking everything in there and then tightly rolling up that cling wrap until you get something that looks like this. Is absolutely fantastic. It's nice and round. I've rolled it really tight, and I'm just going to put it in the fridge while I make my egg wash, which is egg yolks, and giving it a mix with some salt and some cream, just giving it a little bit of a whisk with a fork and pushing it through a fine sieve. So I've got some awesome egg wash, and that's going to make our Wellington look nice and shiny. Next, the first piece of puff pastry comes out, so it's a smaller piece, and that's going to be our lattice. So using a lattice cutter, just go all the way through as shown, and then use egg wash on top of that pastry. Trim the pastry up nice and neat, and this is going to go into the fridge just to chill down a bit. You always want your pastry to be nice and chilled, and then you're going to have really great results. Getting the second larger piece of puff pastry out and the beef from the fridge, I'm going to put it into the center of that rectangle of pastry, and then using a paring knife, just cut some little corners out of your pastry. So we don't want any excess. Any excess pastry you've got you can keep, and we can make tarte-tatin, rough puff pastry, all sorts, pies, sausage rolls. Once you're happy with that, get the egg wash. We're going to use that as a little bit of glue to stick this pastry together on top of the beef, pulling up the end, first flap and then the second flap, and it won't go the way to the middle. You're going to pull up the left hand side flap and just bring it to the center of the beef. Obviously we're working upside down here, so this is the base of your beef Wellington, so any seals will go underneath. So we're just pushing that together. I don't want too much excess, so I don't mind if it's a little bit thin on the bottom there, but just flip it over nice and quickly while it's all still cool, and then liberally brush with egg wash. We're going to brush this beef Wellington twice. So we're going to brush it first with the egg wash, pop it into the fridge, let it cool down, let it chill down, and let it kind of set, and then we're going to bring it out again and give it another second egg wash, and that's what's going to make this really shiny. So once it's cooled down, probably took 10 minutes just to kind of set off. I brought it out, put it onto a tray, and using the egg wash, brushing it all over again. Make sure you get down the sides, because as the puff pastry rises you can see all of the bits on the side, so make sure it's fully egg washed. Then get your lattice piece and just quickly using your fingers tease open the lattice pieces. Now you need to work quick here, because if it gets too warm it's going to be hard to handle, so put it back in the fridge if it's becoming a bit of a pain, but do it in one quick movement like I've just shown you there. And because there's egg wash underneath, it will stick really quickly, so just try and get it done right first time. This is a little bit tricky, but it's going to give you a fantastic professional finish. Cutting off any excess from that lattice and just tucking it underneath. Remember that top lattice was egg washed, so it's going to go nice and shiny as well. It looks absolutely fantastic. Next we're going to cut a steam hole out, so we're going to let some of that steam release while it's being cooked. So cutting a little vol au vent from one of those leftover pieces of pastry, cutting a hole in the top and just putting it on top to form a little funnel, and it's ready to go. How good is that? Ready to go into the oven. Now I'm using a meat thermometer just to get the cooking perfect. In it goes. Cannot wait to see it at the other side. Let's finish the pav. Oh my god, I love pav so much, and this one looks absolutely fantastic. I took it out of the oven this morning and I was super gentle. I popped it onto a plate and left it on the side. Now we're ready to finish this, and I kind of do this maybe about an hour out of serving. Whip up the cream. Do not add any sugar to the cream, because the pav is nice and sweet already, so the cream adds a really great contrast. And probably add the cream and the toppings about an hour before serving, just so that it starts to soften but it doesn't go too soggy. So the cream goes on top nice and thickly. Look at that, looks amazing. And you can finish your pav however you want. This is a festive pav, so whatever you want. You can do passion fruit, you can do mango. I'm choosing really great seasonal festive looking fruits for the top of this pavlova. I've got some strawberries, I've got some raspberries, I've got some beautiful blackberries just to add a bit of colour, contrast, and peaches are in season. Unbelievable. So I've sliced up some peaches and I've got some cherries to go on top as well. So it really is whatever you fancy putting on top, and you're just trying to make this look really festive and really beautiful for your table. I found some elderflowers as well. They look absolutely amazing on top, and I've got some white cherries and I've got some edible flowers. So go nuts, do whatever you wish, and just make it look nice and festive. But I'm really happy with this. I think this is going to look like the perfect centerpiece. What a showstopper for Christmas lunch straight after that beef Wellington. And we're almost ready to go now. While I was making the pav, that Wellington was cooking away, and I'm just going to bring it out of the oven and we'll have a look at the cuisson inside. Is it cooked perfectly? I've taken that to an internal temperature of 46 degrees. We'll have a look, see what it looks like, but we're going to rest it first. Probably rest the welly for about 15 minutes. While we're doing that, let's cut that rocky road we made yesterday, pulling it out of the fridge, getting rid of the paper nice and carefully, and using a sharp knife, just cutting this into blocks. You could cut into chunks, whatever you fancy, but look at that inside, loads of great inclusions, really fun. Cutting some into long bits, popping them into bags, and I'm going to give these away as gifts to my guests, and any trim bits I'm going to pop onto a plate and we'll have that after dessert. So much fun. We are ready to go. We've done all of our prep and it looks absolutely amazing. We've also timed this to perfection, so now's the time to get that table set, get everything out. You need to warm up your gravy, get your salad ready. If you whatever you're going to have with the beef Wellington, we're having a dressed salad of watercress. We're also having horseradish sauce and also having beef stew. So fantastic. Whatever you're going to serve with this, get it all ready now. I've got some cocktails on the go. The pav is done, the chocolate is cut, the salmon, we did that earlier, and I'm going to serve that with our seed crackers. Now don't forget, every single recipe is on studiokitchen.com.au, so check it out. But before you do that, let's have a look inside this Beef Wellington. Let me tell you, it smells absolutely incredible. Let's look at the cook on the inside. We want it nice and medium. Wow, look at the steam coming out, and that is cooked absolutely perfectly. We've got crispy pastry on the outside, and we've got the mushroom, the prosciutto. All is ready now. It's just to have a sip of my cocktail and serve this to our guests. This is my perfect Christmas lunch. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you all have a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Get making this and let me know how you go. Don't forget, visit studiokitchen.com.au, and we're wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.